the storm had rolled in. It wasn't at its peak yet in the morning. And so we actually started the day, as we always do, with meditation. So we were just sitting together meditating with, winds gusting, rain pummeling down on the roof, and winds maybe reaching nearly 100 miles per hour, screaming, through the windows. But actually inside the room, we were all very, calm.
Hello and welcome to Cham Chats. Here we talk about self-discovery and finding true happiness within. I'm Leanne, and today Matthew and I sat down with meditation helper Pam and reflected on our shared experience facing Hurricane Idalia while together at a meditation retreat in northern Florida. In going through this storm, we each felt that we learned so much about acceptance, gratitude, and the importance of community. We're excited to share with you some of the realizations that we had through this experience, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Cham Chats. Welcome, Pam. Hello.
Hi, thanks, Leanne. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, Matthew.
I am also here. Hello.
Hi, Matthew.
Yes, we are all together right now at a meditation retreat. Yes. I get to meet Pam for the almost first time. I met her briefly a couple months ago, but this is our first time actually spending some quality time together.
I know, and what a bonding experience it's been.
So originally we were going to talk to Pam and, get to know her story and, all of our our usual approach to the episodes. But, recently we all, had a shared experience of going through a hurricane while we were here, and it kind of inspired us to sort of reflect on some lessons and made us think that, we want to share that with others. So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, I think I would look back to when you guys first arrived and we had a plan in mind of what we were going to talk about, and then obviously Mother Nature had something else in store for us. And now here we are, and I think this experience allowed us to see kind of how our meditation practice over the last few years really served us through this very interesting and unexpected time. So made sense to kind of take the chance to reflect on it and share it today.
Yeah. No, it's just funny because when we were talking about it the other day, you're like, I have all these analogies for what this storm taught us and everything. So, it's for sure an interesting time. But do you want to so people know who you are? Tell us a little bit about your story, maybe how you started meditating, or
yeah, absolutely. So I started meditating with this meditation practice in 2015. So it's been about 8 years now, and it's the kind of thing where within a short period of time, I really could tell that it was working. I had done many different forms of spiritual and meditative activities and was always hoping that it worked, but when I actually started this, it was so right to the point and effective. I could see the changes in my life very quickly, and so it was very motivating, and I just kept going with it. And it was about 3 years ago that I actually became trained to be a meditation guide with this methodology. So I've been a meditation guide the last 3 years or so, and it's been just an amazing journey.
Yay! And I'm so glad that you did that because you were one of my favorites. Yeah. I think one of the first times I cried on camera by accident was when you were guiding.
No way!
I mean,
really?
it was one of the events that we had. One of the what do you call it? The boot camps that we did.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, you don't remember, but that's okay.
Well, I maybe didn't know it was your first time. Yeah. I thought that was
She just always does that. That's how she is.
I mean, it's true. I do always do that, but not usually on screen in front of 100 people. But yeah.
No, I always knew you were a very open-hearted person, and you express yourself well, and you're so relatable. So
Thank you. By the time this episode comes out, I'm not sure exactly what month we'll be in, but right now it is September. How long ago did it hit? Was it August?
I guess it was technically August 30th or 31st.
Yeah, so it's like about a week ago, or a little less than a week ago.
Yeah.
Hurricane Idalia. Yes. And we got the warnings, right? What do you call those? The alerts on our phones, and then we had to spring into action in some short notice. And it was really amazing how everything kind of came together.
Yeah, we, as I recall, we kind of started to hear about it on Monday, that it was going to be, or maybe Sunday. We knew it was going to be coming midweek. And so by Monday we started getting serious, and Tuesday we were in full prep mode, filling, just making every preparation in case we lost power, because down here when you lose power you also lose water. So we had to prepare lots of food, prepare big barrels of water for, not only drinking, but cleaning and using the bathrooms and everything. Not to mention cleaning up the whole grounds of the meditation retreat center so that all the equipment and everything was stowed away safely. So yeah, there was a lot of work to do to prepare, but everyone really sprung into action and did it with a really positive attitude. So even though we were all getting prepared, nobody was, it didn't have the atmosphere of chaos. It just had the atmosphere of action.
Right. Yeah. It's like something I kind of take for granted, I think, because I didn't even really think about how much more anxiety could have been in the air, I guess, had we been a different bunch of people.
Yeah. Everybody was all pretty calm and just doing what they were supposed to do. And then we we prepped in the morning and then sort of just went about our normal day.
So when I think about many people were just coming for that week, actually. Many people arrived on Saturday only spending 1 week at the retreat center. And when I think about what they might have been planning for their week, they would have had some expectations of, peaceful time, reflective time. Right. And then this hurricane comes through. It's in life, of course, we may have our plans and our wishes and our expectations of how something's going to go. And then as reality plays out, it's completely different.
Right.
And one thing I was really impressed by with everyone was how adaptable everyone was. And even though it was not what any of us would have expected or hoped for, everyone just, like you said, did what they needed to do.
Yeah, I think everybody adapted, and there's even an air of excitement of ooh, everybody gets to stay together in the same building, and it was all it was actually kind of the opposite of you just thought we would have thought we were having a party instead of going through a hurricane. So
I was way too excited for this hurricane.
I definitely noticed it was all the girls. We were excited to have a slumber party.
All the girls coming around because our normal sleeping quarters. We all wanted to, under the evacuation notice, we went to one warehouse that's very well, sort of fortified, very well built and well equipped. So we were all in the one place all together, which was unusual, but kind of, fun. Yeah.
Because we were so able to be prepared and felt safe and everything, that we were able to have fun. But I was super excited the whole time. Felt a little guilty about how excited I was, because I definitely not hoping for any destruction or anything too bad to happen, but I was excited about just all being together and having some of that quality time, I guess.
Yeah, so just to give people a little bit of a play-by-play of what happened. So Tuesday night was when things were becoming imminent, and the evacuation notices came out. So that's when we all moved to this safe place, and then woke up on Wednesday morning. The storm had rolled in. It wasn't at its peak yet in the morning, and so we actually started the day as we always do with meditation. So we were just sitting together meditating with, winds gusting, rain pummeling down on the roof. And winds maybe reaching nearly 100 miles per hour, screaming, through the windows. But actually inside the room, we were all very, calm. We were all there together. So there was like a safety and a comfort in being together. And then I think each person was also just there reflecting on their own thoughts that were coming up. So, there was nowhere to run, there was nowhere to hide. The only thing we could do was just kind of face our mind at that moment. And I want to say around 10 a.m. is when we lost power. So the lights started to flicker for a little bit. And then eventually the lights just went out. And we just continued meditating. Again, there was nothing to do. There was nowhere we could go. We just stayed and kept meditating. And different meditation guides kind of took turns. And, normally we use the microphone. We had to change to the megaphone. Which was really funny. All of a sudden, it was like meditation drill sergeant. Drop and give me 20. Give me 20 inner peace. And we stayed like that just for a few hours until it was lunchtime. And luckily, as I mentioned, that we had prepared a lot of food, so there was plenty of food. We had plenty of supplies, and then we kind of lived somewhat like that for the next day, and we started to get power back around the next evening. So it was kind of 2 full days almost that we didn't have power or running water. But then on that second day in the evening, we got power back. And of course, you can imagine how overjoyed we were after 2 days of, not being able to flush the toilet.
Shower.
Not being able to shower. We were very, very excited and grateful. And that was also we
were able to flush the toilet.
Tell us how that was, Leanne.
Just want everyone to know we did, in fact, flush the toilet, just in an unconventional way, I guess.
You had to bring your own water.
BYO.
Bring your own water.
Bring your own toilet water. We had actually buckets of what was supposed to be drinking water, right? That was what the intention was, that we actually had to end up using to flush the toilet, but so we were rationing.
I guess that was one area we didn't anticipate needing water. But.
Or I think we did to the best of our ability. We didn't anticipate it, but I think I don't think there was much more we could have prepared, right? I don't think we had any more giant buckets to fill, but but it was perfect though. We had like just enough, if not more, than we needed. I think, right? A lot of people like went to the store like before the storm really started and got what we could, like bottles of water and food and snacks and stuff. So we were pretty lucky, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Blessed.
We had our generators to temporarily shower, at least for that day and stuff. So, I think we're lucky to have so many people here that are, so well versed in doing many different things that everybody kind of pulled together and just did their part.
Yeah, that's one of the very cool things that I love about this meditation is that like you meet so many people from all over the world, and everybody comes from this like different background and has like this different trade or skill that they bring to the table, and we really saw that like come to life during this time, which is actually one of the first things that we kind of realized that like we learned from this experience was the like importance of community and having people you can rely on and lean on in difficult times.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, we really had no choice. We just naturally were already together, and it was just so grateful and so fortunate that, whatever needed to be done, there was someone who knew how to do it. And it was making me think about how, when we're going through anything in life, sometimes we think we're alone. Sometimes we think no one would understand. Sometimes we think, I don't want to burden someone else. So we kind of just like hold it in, or we endure it, in isolation.
Never done that before. What? But
this experience was just such a powerful reminder to me that actually we can do so much better, and we can do so much more. We can endure so much more if we do it together with other people. And it was just to share the experience with others and to lean on, people who you can trust and confide in is so, so important. So
yeah.
I mean, do we want to share like some of the things that people did?
Oh yeah.
I'll just share like one of my favorite parts as a musician and whatever. Like the first night that we were just like, what do we do now? Like the sun's down, it's pitch black. We have a couple candles and whatever. And like somebody just started singing, and like it just turned into this big jam session. Like some people were singing. I started drumming on a table. Somebody was like playing like a fork on a can. Like
yeah, Melissa was banging on a metal tray.
That's what that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. And everybody was dancing and clapping, and it was just so fun. Yeah, I mean, that definitely wouldn't have happened if we were not like forced into this situation.
Yeah, I think there's just such like a strong community just during normal times, in normal situations with this retreat and this meditation. But like, yeah, going through that hard time together, I feel like it brought it out even more. It brought us together even more to just have fun, basically, no matter what's going on.
Totally. Like, we're happy, we humans, we're social creatures. So even when things are rough or we're going through a hard time, if we're together with others, it makes it better, it makes it easier. And when we're alone, it's so easy to kind of like fall into negative thoughts and just be stuck inside these like recurring negative thoughts. When you kind of are with people, even when it doesn't feel like comfortable, or even you think, I don't want to be around anyone if I'm feeling this way, actually putting yourself out there, just like being together with other people is really, really helpful, and will help us move through those thoughts and feelings faster and get to a better place on the other side.
Very true.
So that was one reminder lesson that the hurricane gave us, I think.
The next thing that I think we kind of took away from this was just how worry does not accomplish anything, right? That's what we said. That's what you said, actually. I stole your words there. I mean, somebody else said it at this point.
Sure, I'm sure I'm not the first person. I'm sure I
not the first, not the last.
Yeah. And I think, at least for me, this meditation, I know for you guys too, but this meditation really helped with just having a positive mind in general, which made facing situations like this, like not an anxious moment, but just a time to take action and do what we have to do moment. Not living in fear, but just living in doing what you can do with the tools that you have, basically. And I don't know that I could have said that along, a couple years ago. So grateful for that.
100%. Yeah, I think we saw it here how we were talking about, we took all these these actions to prepare, but we could really you can really see that this fear or worry is really just a state of mind, and we think that state of mind is like necessary, or it's helpful, or it's preventing some ominous outcome. But actually, though, it's really just a state of mind, and meditation gives us the way to actually identify that as a state of mind and not stay in it. We can actually let it go, and doesn't mean you're not going to take action. In fact, you have more wisdom in what to do, and more energy and capacity to be able to do what you need to do without those negative mind states bearing down on you.
Yeah. You really just have a clearer head to just think and do things properly. And the thing with worry is it doesn't really change what's going to happen anyway, so there's no need to, I guess, dwell in it either, So just kind of, I think meditation helps you get to a point of acceptance of okay, this is what's happening, or what will happen if you're, in a situation where something's coming. And then, you just focus on what you can control, and then sort of let the rest lie where it may.
What was that one quote? It was like "Worrying is suffering twice." Or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
it was song lyric from the song's "Haunted by Design" by Miles Kennedy, and yeah, there's a lyric that goes, "Those who worry suffer twice." You
I
know,
like
so
that.
so if something's bad's coming and you're worrying about it, you're kind of suffering now, then you're sort of suffering when it comes. So it's, you can control one of those.
Of course, that's, it's easier said than done sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, that's why doing the work to get to that place is important. It doesn't just happen out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's easy for us to say because we're kind of been doing this for a while, but yeah, definitely it takes time. Even thinking to the idea of worry, like I think that relates back to even, having a community like we were talking about before. It's like when you have those people, then it's easier to not worry, because you have people that you can rely on. That's really it. It's all connected.
Yeah. You brought out a word before, Matthew, like acceptance. And I think that's always been, that word has always been fraught with many meanings for me, because I may have thought in the past that acceptance is like complacency, just passively, letting things happen, letting things pass by. But actually, acceptance is also like a very courageous thing. And having acceptance of what's going on in your life doesn't mean that things are just going to stay that way forever. Like actually being at a state of acceptance puts you in a position of like power and agency, actually. So, once we were prepared for what was happening, we could just accept things as they came and then be ready to act and respond as needed to whatever situation was going to happen. So I think in life, we often think maybe that, I should just not accept what's going on because I don't like it, or it's bad, or I want to change it. And that's, that's, of course, we all have things, I'm sure, in our life we want to change. But actually being in a state of mind of acceptance gives you more, like we said, clarity of mind, and, inner power to be able to respond and change and adapt and move forward. So definitely we saw that in action over this last week from everyone. And it was a really good life lesson.
Yeah, I think acceptance also is just like knowing what's in your control and what is not in your control.
Yes.
Because obviously we could have just said, I accept that the storm is coming, and then we just sit here and see what happens, like we can't control the storm, of course, but we can control how we prepare for it and how we mentally prepare for it and go through it.
Speaking of acceptance, also reminded me of, the importance of gratitude, and how I think many of us realized after going through the hurricane and losing out on so many of our normal creature comforts and conveniences, we really felt so grateful for everything that we had. We were grateful for the little bit of water that we had. And then when the water came back in full, we were just like, oh my God, running water, jumping for joy.
We were like, some of us were like across like the field somewhere, like far away from the building, but we just heard screaming, and we looked over and everyone's jumping for joy, and we're like, oh, the power must be back. And then we heard like somebody's like, I don't know if they said power or shower, and I was like, either way, that's good news. And I was like, we at least have the shower for sure, because if there's power, we have a shower, and if there's shower, we have a shower.
If there's shower, we have a shower. Good news either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we all were like reminded, how even the little things are worth being grateful for, even the things we take for granted. So that was, something we were all kind of reflecting on. And also just how the mindset of gratitude really does bring resilience through hard times.
And gratitude for like each other too, just brings it out in general. You start to see things from like a different perspective. And,
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of our meditation teachers says that even when you're going through hard times, if you can have gratitude, then you'll be able to overcome that hard time, and you'll be able to grow. So you're getting stronger. Your capacity is being challenged at that time, but then also being expanded. So one thing that meditation helps us with is when we're going through hard times and being challenged, we're able to kind of reflect on ourselves, and then, whatever kind of negative thoughts or beliefs are holding us back, like we have this little cage that we're in that's actually very confining, that difficult circumstance is coming up, and when we can see it as an opportunity to shed something, to let something go, then you can overcome, and your mind gets bigger, your capacity gets bigger, so that you can actually endure and then also do and accomplish more. So that mindset of gratitude is really that big perspective shift, rather than being a slave to the circumstance, or a slave to our negative mind or worries or doubts or fears. When we just have gratitude and keep going, and again, the meditation is just such a necessary tool. It's really instrumental, and for me, having done this 8 years now, it's like as necessary as breathing. But the meditation gives us a way to actually put that into practice, so that we can be grateful no matter what comes our way, and then keep moving forward. I remember even when I was like relatively new with meditation, I sort of unexpectedly lost my job. It wasn't a job that I loved, so I think I was kind of already sort of planning my exit strategy, but it came a little sooner than I expected, and in a way and time that I didn't expect. So at first I was like a little shocked, and of course worried, what am I going to do next? What does this mean? But after that initial kind of shock wore off, and of course my pride was hurt, I was like, how could they let me go? But after those things wore off, I could actually get to a place of acceptance, like we're talking about acceptance of what is, acceptance of the reality, but then also feel grateful for what I learned through that job experience, and a bit hopeful that maybe something better was on the way. And luckily that proved to be true. So I was able to start taking other actions to find other job opportunities that in the end proved even more rewarding and fun than my prior ones. So it was all moving forward. But at that moment that something unexpected or uncertain or seemingly undesirable is happening, a lot of negative emotions can come up. But meditation gives us a way to like move through those emotions pretty quickly, so that you can get back to a state of acceptance and gratitude for what you do have, and then be able to continue moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely feel gratitude on like a whole other level that I never did in my life before. I guess I was usually like pessimistic, or I think I was like fake optimistic in a way. Like, I'd always like put a positive spin on things, but I didn't really believe it or feel it. It was just something I said to like kind of hopefully feel that way, maybe trying to trick myself into feeling that way. But like now I genuinely feel that way, and like on a much deeper level than I thought was possible. And that's even like just the beginning I'm like aware of too, because I'm like, there's still so much. Today actually I was thinking about this. I was like, I'm happier than I ever thought was possible. Yes. And I still have so much like stuff in me that I know needs to come out. So I'm like, I can only imagine how like I can't even imagine how much better it's gonna get, And the other day I was like, I don't know why sometimes I go down this negative thinking like path. Not really that bad, but I was like thinking I hadn't heard from my boss in a couple of days. So I was like, do they not want me back? Was I terrible at my job? Am I fired? What's going to happen? And then just general like kind of anxieties that I would have about this job sometimes, just feeling like a little inferior and stuff. But then I kind of had a perspective shift that day where I was like, just like looking at all the things that I had and how lucky I was and how blessed I was. And I was like, I don't even not that I don't want this job, but I was like, I almost don't even care if that was going to happen. Like, that's okay, because like, look at what I have, you know? And it's like, there's just no room for me to be upset about anything.
Yeah. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. Things you can really see from that like gratitude and acceptance kind of go hand in hand with that.
And I think trust too. Trust in the universe has gone a long way. Because everything always works out, and we forget that every single time. That's something.
Every time.
Yeah.
But it's like everybody knows it. Everyone in the world can tell you, like, oh yes, like, you know, this was a time where like I never thought I'd come out of it, and then on the other side of that, they're like, oh yeah, like it all worked out. They're like, you know, everything happens for a reason or whatever. But I kind of have a funny story related to that. This is so stupid and like seems small, but it was like it was just funny. I was like getting changed the other day in the bathroom, and I put like my clothes down on the tank of the toilet bowl because you know, there's nowhere other surface to put my clothes, so I just put it down there. And my socks that I had like rolled off and went into the toilet. And I was like, oh no, like I don't have any other socks. Like I had to do laundry and whatever. So like those were my only pair of socks, and they were now soaked with toilet water. Clean toilet water, but still toilet water. And so I was like, oh no. And for like half of a minute, maybe, I don't know why I said it like that, for maybe like 20 seconds, I don't know, I was like, this is the worst thing.
My day is ruined.
I was like, I can't wear my shoes with no socks. Like,
This is terrible. Everything is terrible.
but then like, I don't know what made me like do this, but I just like stopped and I was like, I don't know why, but like I know for a fact that universe is not gonna let me go without socks right now. It's like, I bet you somebody outside right now has a pair of socks for some reason. I don't know. I was like, somebody has an extra pair of socks. So I just like finished getting dressed, walked outside. The first person I see is Erica. And I said, like, Erica, do you happen to have an extra pair of socks? And right out of her bag, she's got a fresh pack of like 7 pairs of socks that she had just bought from the store. And she was actually like kind of complaining that like she had too many socks. She was like, I don't need this many, but that's all they had. Like,
Oh my God.
the first person I talked to, and she just like, why did she even have them on her? Why were they not like away in her room where she's sleeping or whatever? So it was just funny that like, I just decided in that moment that like I'm taken care of, and I'm just gonna go outside and get it, and then it was there. So, you know, I mean, that's a silly kind of example, but it happens in so many different ways in my life.
I feel that's just become more like normal thing to happen, but it's
Yeah.
like it never gets old. Like it still always like amazes me when stuff like that happens. Like, you know, one time, like last time I came here, I was like, my boots broke and like the sole was coming off of it, so I just happened, I was like, hey, let me get some tape and I'll just, you know, duct tape it together and deal with it. But it turns out somebody left a pair of boots there back, so it's like those little coincidences and moments kind of, I feel like, happen more often now.
It's amazing.
So amazing. Yeah, being taken care of, feeling the support of the universe. Something you get to really know and witness and experience directly through meditation, for sure. So yeah, actually one thing you said, Leanne, a few minutes ago really struck me when you're talking about how initially when you weren't hearing back from your boss, you know, all kinds of worries and doubts and insecurity came up, but then you were pretty quickly able, it sounds like, to change perspective to gratitude and seeing what you do have. And that was just such a powerful reminder that the human mind, by its very nature, is a negative mind, and it sees what we don't have, or it sees what's lacking, or it's really rooted in like fear and lack and all these things. But the fact that you were able to pretty quickly change to that positive mindset and seeing what we do have, it reminds me of a quote, like, what you appreciate appreciates, meaning what you know, have gratitude for will grow. So it's, you know, not always easy to remember in the moment, but it is like a mental practice, a mental muscle, if you will. And gratitude it's not always our first instinct to be grateful, but it's something that actually anyone can practice and cultivate through intention and through awareness and self-reflection. Yeah.
Actually, one thought that came to mind after we kind of went through the hurricane and we got everything back and everything, I was just kind of like thinking, it's like maybe like we needed this. Maybe we needed to gain some perspective. Like maybe we were taking too much for granted and kind of like, it probably isn't that deep, but that's how I chose to see it. Because I was like, I don't know, maybe like universe was like, hey, you guys are taking too much for granted. Like, let me remind you of what you have and, to be grateful.
Yeah, I really like what you said about it, like everything like being a practice, because it was actually something you said earlier about how like we initially always have that initial negative reaction to something, and then sometimes we stay stuck in it or we can change it. And I think that's like, for me, I guess, was an important point, is to like, it's okay to feel that negative emotions and just feel it when it comes up, but like what you do after is kind of like, I think, the difference between having like a positive mind or a negative mind. And I think that's where, the gratitude, acceptance, and, meditation, whatever it is, really comes in. And that's how like you change over time and build that resilience.
Yeah, well said.
Resilience.
Yes. So another point that actually, as we were preparing for this, Matthew, you also made was, we of course have a very strong mental habit of like labeling things as good or bad. So, and our minds and our feelings will respond based on whether we, think of something as good or bad. But one thing you shared was that as the events of the hurricane were playing out, you just said, oh, well, this is different. All of our routines were kind of thrown out the window. But rather than, mentally anyway, like complaining about it or feeling frustration or resistance to it, as many of us understandably may have, you just said, oh, well, this is different.
Right.
And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. I like that.
So as we go on our journey through life, all kinds of, things happening in our life, ups and downs, in our mind, again, that tendency to label something as good, label it as bad. Actually, the situation is just always flowing anyway. So to be able to, and again, it comes back to kind of acceptance, a radical acceptance, but then rather than labeling it as good or bad, just seeing it as it is, accepting it as it is, and doing the best that you can do. What we have control over, as Leanne also said, is we can't always control the circumstances, but we can control how we act, how we think, and how we behave in the midst of whatever is going on. So I think that was also a really big lesson that the hurricane gave us, and a way that we could see our meditative practice, the fruits of our meditation practice, is being able to actually kind of do that. So it's no longer a theory, it's something that we were really putting into practice in the moment.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and definitely with meditation, it kind of just happens naturally,
Yeah.
more and more. It gets easier to do it the more you practice, doing it. And even though my mind's like, oh, I think, okay, yeah, it's not good or bad, it's different, it didn't mean I didn't have my anxieties about being off my normal routine.
Sure.
But also, again, I was thinking, it's like, well, if my biggest worry or anxiety during a hurricane is not having a normal routine, then I'm probably, in a good place, Definitely. Yeah, and that's also, again, another moment to be grateful for about, I guess, the state of mind that I'm in and been able to work towards over time.
So true. After everything kind of, blew over, no pun intended, and we were... Sorry.
We had to get one in.
Actually, I love puns. It was pretty much intended. We kind of all circled up and we were able to share our reflections of the experience, and people getting a chance to like reflect and share how it was for them. And, you know, similarly to what you said, Matthew, I was kind of surprised at how generally, you know, okay I felt in my mind through everything. And of course it's a function of our sort of being our fortunate circumstances. We know that, you know, there are people and communities in other parts of Florida and the South that weren't as lucky as we were. But that being said, it was just a lot of us said that, like, oh, I think back to how I would have responded to this before meditating, and it would have been a totally different story. So we were all kind of surprised at how relatively peaceful, relatively happy and calm and resilient we felt through it. But we all know that had this been, you know, a few years ago, it would have been a completely different story.
I think it's worth mentioning, for me at least too, that like I didn't know 90% of the people that I was with prior to coming here. And I've only been here for 2 weeks, and some people come and go at different times. So like every couple of days, maybe there's some new people. And so that this just occurred to me right now, like, cause I remember going through Hurricane Sandy with my family. So like we all got together, and that to me was a fun time because we were just, you know, because we were safe, but we were all hanging out and just like having fun. This time around, like, yeah, I knew a handful of people from back home. Matthew, I mean, I knew you from like online and stuff, but actually Matthew might be the only one that I knew in person ever. So, but this whole time I've been here, actually, I've been amazed at how quickly I feel like I know a lot of these people forever, you know. Some of them, like I said, were faces that I've seen online. Some of them I've never seen before, met before, spoke to before ever. And oh my God, when they left, I was so sad. I'm sad that I'm leaving soon. And yeah, so that time hanging out with everybody, like sort of unplugged and all that, with a bunch of strangers, and we all acted like we've known each other forever, and we just like all this love in the air. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's also been my experience. I remember the first time I came here, I'm like just talking to people, and you know, so it's very quiet, a lot of social anxiety. And the first time I was here, I'm like, when did I become social? Like, like who is this person?
Yeah, I feel like knowing you now, I would have no idea that you had social anxiety or something you struggled with.
Yeah, it's really the power of this meditation, this community. It's so like you just click with people instantly.
Yeah, even when everyone comes from, like you said, different background, different walks of life, but there's just
different languages,
like
different
people, countries,
like,
different languages. Yeah.
Like the English, because I guess the common language here is generally English, but you know, there's people that don't speak a lot of English, but still everybody gets along. Like we make do with the little bit that we know of each other's language and stuff.
Makes you realize that we're all really the same. We're all going through the same thing. And yeah, even coming back to what you said about everybody sharing is like you kind of realize like, oh yeah, I can relate to that, and I can relate to that. And so it's like you realize we're all kind of going through the same thing, you know? So that's really the power. If you just open up, you'll be surprised how many people feel the same way.
100%.
Yeah, so I like to see these situations as gifts from the universe, and we talk about that sometimes, but a lot of things that we think is like a bad situation or something negative, we always learn something from it and grow from it. So it's really more like a gift if you choose to see it that way. And I mean, that ties into gratitude and acceptance and all that too. But yeah, if you just see everything as an opportunity to learn and grow, then there is no bad. So I'm grateful for this experience with you guys.
Same.
Likewise, same here. And one other little tidbit is that what I heard is that our town called in, you know, our local energy company called in workers, reinforcements from all around southern Florida and Georgia So there were people on the ground fixing, so many trees down, so many electrical wires broken, but they started the restoration effort at the crack of dawn on Thursday. And I'm just, amazed at the people who are willing to like leave their home, leave their own comfort to come help out. And so these kinds of situations, of course, also remind you of like just the good of humanity. And how everyone wants to help, so seeing that good and the fact that we were then able to get power back so quickly, I was just absolutely amazed, and it's just so touching. And again, so grateful. It all comes back to gratitude. And we know that there are a lot of resources going into helping even more kind of devastated communities on the coast and elsewhere. So we're just really hoping for everyone's safety and speedy return to their, life. And grateful for everyone who's helped so far. Our big thanks go out to everyone on the, with the relief effort and restoration, doing an amazing job.
Okay. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we're gonna have you back. We need an episode for Pam's entire life. I want to have so many questions. Our listeners are dying to know more.
It'll be my absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you for hosting this podcast. And sharing your experiences and all the hope that we have to share. So thank you both for your amazing work.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Cham Chats. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and follow us on social media. All of the links are in the description. And if you're interested in trying this meditation method yourself, you can visit onlinemeditationevents.com for online classes or to be connected to a center near you. See you next time.